All right, so I would like to get this program started. First, I'd like to take your attention to the screens. We have a special video from our Congressman John Mica. Unfortunately, Congressman Mica, who was supposed to be here this morning, could not. He is under quarantine. He got a very close COVID exposure and is stuck in quarantine at this time. So he did send us a video to get this program started. Please turn your attention to the screen.
Hello, this is Congressman John Mica. I wanted to take this opportunity to first of all congratulate the Chamber on their day of recognition for a very special person and friend, Diane Cruz. I've had the opportunity over the past nearly 2 decades to work with Diane and also work with the Orlando Sanford Airport. What an incredible history. I remember too well my first visit to the Orlando Sanford Airport, visiting their headquarters in an old Army Quonset. Steve Cook was the director. And as I walked in, Steve cautioned me to look out on the wooden floor because termites had eaten part of it away and he didn't want me to fall through. From that humble beginning and through the Larry Dale era, which was quite an exciting ride, we had to have someone to fill some pretty big and sometimes controversial shoes. Working with Larry and knowing Larry, you know what I'm talking about. But Diane was the right person at the right time. She had lifted some pretty heavy water and done an incredible job working to build both the infrastructure and the foundation for a future commercial airport of major proportions. We now have from 0 to more than 3.3 million passengers. We have over 6,000 people whose jobs are directly or indirectly related to the airport. And the airport is a great commercial center, one of the greatest growing airports in the United States and in the Western Hemisphere. All that's because of people like Diane Cruz. And as you salute Diane, I want to join you and thank her particularly for her many years of devoted service in helping build a wonderful airport, wonderful opportunities for so many people. Thank you, Diane, and we wish you well. And from Congressman John Mica, thank you again for all you've done for so many years for so many people. Bye now.
Okay, that's a new one for me. Good morning. My name is Frank Iapolo, and I was asked to fill in for our congressman who is convalescing, so my best to he and Pat. I hope they're feeling better and avoiding whatever exposure may bring. It's my privilege to speak this morning on behalf of my fellow directors over at the Orlando Sanford International Airport. The Chamber and the airport have had a long history together of working together. Many of us, our current chairman, Tom Green, myself, have chaired both organizations over time. And it's through my activity in this chamber almost 20 years ago where I got to meet a newly minted Diane Cruz, who had come to the airport as the Vice President of Administration with Larry Dale, and began to take an airport that had the hopes of being a commercial powerhouse into an airport that at least 3 times in the last 5 or 6 years has been one of the fastest growing small hub airports in the country. Over that 14 years, I watched Diane move from the Vice President of Administration to the Vice President of Administration and Finance, and ultimately to become the President and CEO of the airport. Quite an amazing trajectory, and very enlightening and very inspiring for people who got to watch someone whose hard work and integrity moved through the process and ultimately recognized in the top spot. A lot of people don't realize it, but Diane was a non-traditional student. She went back to school after having been with the city and taking care of a family. She went and got an A.A.E. from Seminole State College. She went, we're going to get there. John Gillen always putting in a good plug. They recognized her as one of the alumni of the year a few years ago. She then got a BA and a master's in public administration from the University of Central Florida. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Diane has accomplished quite a bit. As my fellow director, Judge Simmons, said when we were going through the process, Diane is not Larry Dale in a skirt. She is a woman of quiet accomplishment who leads by example. And I watched, at least for 3.5 years while I chaired the board, it was my privilege to work directly with Diane as she came in as a president, and watched her grow into that role, being a community leader, not only for the airport, but for women in the community and for people who want to restart their careers and go back to school and do well. It's my privilege to have called her a friend and colleague over the last 20 years. I promised Alan that I would be brief and be gone, which is what what past chairs and what presenters should be. So let me just say, Diane, on behalf of your community, the community at the airport and my fellow directors, the Sanford community where you served prior to coming to the airport, Seminole County and Central Florida, thank you for the hard work and dedication that you put into helping build this community and being a role model. And I wish you all the best of luck in your new role as the Chief Executive Grandma of Olivia and the kids. So with that, Diane, if you'd come up for a moment, please. Alan, how am I doing on time? It is my honor to present to you on behalf of everyone in this room and everyone on Zoom and the people in this community, this token of our appreciation for your service to this community. And COVID be damned, I'm getting a hug. Rob gets jealous, so get on good side.
This is new for me, too. I'll keep my comments brief. This was far more than what I expected, but it has been so thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words. Congressman Mica, if you're listening, thank you so much for your beautiful video and your words. They mean the world to me. I live my life in a manner that other people can say I live with integrity, and for you to say that means everything. It's what I built my life on. I love the airport. I love this community. I was born here. I was raised here. I remember when it was a Navy base. So being acknowledged like this means the world to me and my family. So thank you so much. I believe that we've left the airport in a good, sound condition, ready to grow to even greater heights. Tom, I know that that's your aspiration, and I think that we're looking forward to seeing a lot of good things in the years and ahead of us. So thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. Thanks.
Another round of applause, please. Thank you so much. All right, well now the show can continue on, folks. We have plenty more for you. So coming from all the way from the West Coast, from actually my home state of California, to talk about the future of the Sanford International Airport, I'd like to please welcome Tom Nolan.
Reminds me of high school. So, I might need a little technical. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad I started out with a laugh. My wife and I do have 5 kids. We've been married since we met her in high school, and we have 5 children today. So it is a pleasure. Well, I'm going to make this as interesting and informative as possible. And that doesn't remind me to be the first slide, but I'll go with it. Well, I have a mask from the city of Sanford. Norton, how are you today? And the relationship of the SAA, Sanford Airport Authority, and the city of Sanford are instrumental in where we are today, because it has a long, rich history, and I want to acknowledge that. This Sanford Airport Authority is made up with some unbelievable talent. Many of the members are here today. You just heard one of them. So I want to acknowledge, you can read their names there. Chairman Tom Green is not here today, but I've worked over my career with a lot of politicians, a lot of people. One of the things that impressed me most was the intellectual energy on this board and the diversity on the board from ideas and so forth. It's a pleasure to be here. My wife and I are ecstatic to be in Florida, born and raised in the Midwest, and graduated from Marquette University. Mayor, I think we talked a little bit about that. So let's talk about this great day. Everybody knows 1904, the Wright brothers had that dream, and you can see one of the historic flights. Amazing, isn't it? Unfortunately, I cannot talk about aviation to the extent I would have intended to because of one little problem. This molecule single-handedly dismantled the world economy. And the world was shrinking at that time. It was shrinking because air transportation was shrinking the world. In America alone, we saw over 700 million people. That's twice the population. Orlando Sanford Airport, which I'll call SFB for brevity, was soaring, as was, I came from Palm Springs, 12 airlines soaring, based on tourism as well. This molecule single-handedly dismantled our industry. Airlines right now are struggling, to say the least, despite billions in aid. Pilots have been laid off, aircraft are sitting in deserts, people are looking for jobs. Airlines are patiently waiting to see if the public is going to understand that it is safe to fly, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today as well, but it's a different dynamic. I envy Diane in a lot of ways because she is retired in such a turbulent time, but by nature, I'm a pretty competitive guy, so this actually turns me on. So we're going to continue to take it to new heights. So let's talk about that. I mentioned the airlines. It's very difficult just to see those headlines. I'm serious. I can be humorous, but I'm not here. How many of you, and be truthful, believe that it's safe to fly? There are some very truthful people here that don't believe it is. And what I'm here today to tell you is, if we are going to have any chance of pulling out of this, we've got to get back into the air. We have to get back into the air. Figure out a reason. The airlines need you, they want you, and it is safe. And why is it safe? Well, people envision this flying cigar with the same air that it took off with circulating in the cabin. Farther from the truth. Farther from the truth. It is designed, it's safer, it's the equivalent of going into surgery, and it far surpasses anything you would inhale in your home or in this conference room right now. My wife and I just flew to Indianapolis for the holiday, and we're in one piece. It is safe to fly. It is safe to fly. Please, those that have raised your hand, tell people, and I've told the board every meeting, get out and it's okay to fly. For some people, maybe not, but it's okay to fly. And the airlines want you. So we talked about it, not only that COVID cleaning, electrostatic cleaning, it charges a molecule, we spray that, they spray it in the aircraft daily. Our partners from OSI, by the way, are here, this private partnership, and they, under contract, have to manage the terminal, do all the ground handling and above and below the wing for the airlines. And Keith, you're here today, I know you'll shake your head, but the electrostatic is being done. You flew out yourself, right? And it does. That electrostatic pulls the nasty particles to it and destroys it. And it lasts for a long time. We do that throughout the terminal. We do mandate masks in the terminal and so forth. So airlines are doing well with that. As I say, the future of the airlines depends on you. My wife and I can't wait as soon as Europe opens up, if you'll give me the time off. Right? But no, seriously, we're going to jump and enjoy Europe because it was an invasion of people. Last time we went, you couldn't even walk down the square at in Rome. So $10 billion was appropriated to airports, and we typically are not shy about taking money because every year we earn a certain number of federal funds that's how we do these improvements. And that $10 billion, we received $22 million. Right now, that is carrying us. It is carrying us. Got to get this vaccine. In fact, OSI and I are going to be talking about maybe an opportunity to store vaccines at the airport as a distribution point, possibly. And there's someone in this audience that has something to do with that as well, and I won't mention his name because he said to keep it confidential. But 10 billion, 22 million is keeping us floating right now. Our success is relying on people getting back, checking in at the airport, paying for the parking, renting a car, getting to the gate, sitting, having a sweet roll and a coffee or lunch. That revenue is what sustains the airport and OSI. So it's all a very close parallel on how we exist. So moving forward, like I said, bring it on. Bring it on. It's here. Biggest challenge in the history. The other challenge I could think of is maybe 9/11, but that was forecastable. We knew we were going to come out of this. So $65 million was expended. I should have brought a pointer here, but you can see the new concourse, additional 4 gates, bringing total gates to 16. No, Allegiant wasn't really happy with that, but we had to do it. And one thing the board wants to do is diversify and look at new opportunities, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So in addition to that wonderful concourse, is the beautiful new extension of the ticket hall. You can see the columns there was expanded to a certain distance. There weren't extra counters added, but it was restructured in a way, hopefully to make it more efficient. The image is wonderful. It's not your typical low-cost airport. Some airports are running low-cost are old and the odors aren't good here. Not here it's fine, but other airports, you see the low-cost carriers, they don't care. They would operate out of the simplest of airports, but we've added a little class here, right, to the Orlando Sanford International Airport. Functionality and class, that's what it was all about. So it takes it up a notch. It's not just the low-cost carrier that we're looking at, but we have a future looking at something different as well. Let me back up. Standby one. You can see the new ticket counters, A.A.E. compliant and just modernized, a great new look. We have shared use, so that means we can plug into any counter. And when we do get additional air service, they can plug into those counters without being proprietary to each counter. That's huge in how we function. And that history, the great history of this airport has to do with the Navy Air Base, PV-1. That's not the original, but it's the same type aircraft, which was restored by a dedicated group of volunteers. Those uniforms you see are pretty neat. I've tried them on. Sometimes I walk around the office with them on. My son's in the Navy, and I have this one with about 100 medals on it, and I took a photo of that, and he said, oh my God. I said, son, I decided to join with you. And I said, because of my college education, I came in as an admiral or something. I had him going there, too. So there's a new concourse, still a little finish work to be done, but you can see the spatial aspect. We're going to be adding some art to give it a little extra flair. If anybody wants to donate their art collection, give us a call. Be happy to accommodate. Now, this is MCO, Orlando International Airport, right? Looks like it, doesn't it? Now, that's what I call a really bad carousel. I mean, that's as good as it gets. 3 beautiful new carousels, double stacking on there. It's at an angle. It's absolutely wonderful. That is poised to take us for the next couple of decades as far as capacity. Now, you know the leisure passenger likes to bring luggage, and we want them to bring the golf clubs and the luggage and indulge in beautiful Florida. So that's one of the other elements of this project that's very exciting. Questions are going to be long, so stop me at 15 minutes here. And on the canopy out in front, it's hard to believe it does rain here, I understand. I still have some fungus in my toes for the first 2 months I was here. We've only been here 90 days. There was quite a bit of rain every day, and I wore the shoes, walked to the car. So there'll be a new canopy out front so you can be out of the deluge of rain, and the convenience for the traveler is unprecedented. What we want to attract here is the business traveler. So we've got a plan to try to do that. This is part of the amenities to help do that. It's important to the business traveler for obvious reasons. So we've got over 8 million square feet of pavement, the equivalent of over 60 miles of two-lane highway. And people wonder, well, where does all that money go at the airport? We spend tens of millions of dollars. We're in a second phase of another project. It'll be perpetual. It's ongoing. We monitor our pavements, do pavement condition inventory. This is newer, and we take core samples, and as it ages, we got to replace it. The federal government, thank you to Congressman Mica. Thank you very much if he's watching. The tens of millions of dollars over the years of pavement repair and if we had to pull that out of our budget, we'd probably be in the red right now. Here you go. Isn't that exciting? There's another piece of the taxiway. The rich history of this airport has been involving international traffic. For the last half a dozen years, it's slowed down quite a bit, and our goal is to take it back up. And we've got a strategy for that. We're going to do our best and leverage our low-cost position to try to convince them to dump MCO and to come on out here, quite frankly. And we're going to be aggressive with going after what the giant has. They are being competitive. They just spent, I think, $1 billion or $1.5 billion on a new international concourse, but we're working toward that. You can see our partners from OSI are helping us do that. We're adding new technology to keep up with the Joneses out of to the south of us. And most importantly, we have to, I don't know if any of you are aware, but in the middle of the terminal is about a 60,000 square feet of federal inspection services. We've got to rebuild that. We got to do it quickly because we want to be able to attract, and we got to spend probably $16 to $20 million to do that. We're finishing the design, but we're still a little behind the 8 ball on it. We need to get ahead of this now. So Vinci Airport's private operator, I mentioned that, I don't know, I thought I had it at the beginning of the slide. Unique public-private partnership. Out of the 430 commercial service airports in the country, 99.8% of them or more are owned and operated by the county, city, and so forth. This is unique, the partnership with OSI. There are Vinci Airports is known all over Europe for running airports in South America and so forth. And I think it was about 20 years ago that an agreement was, under Larry Dale, was negotiated to have Vinci operate the terminal, the parking structure, car rentals, and so forth. We have an agreement, it's a revenue sharing, and we partner together. We're very proud to have them. We're doing your audit right now, Keith. So, and that's to make sure that you're keeping up with your obligations. We're working collaboratively to take this airport to the next level. Now, Elizabeth isn't here, but there isn't a phone call that we don't have a conversation about how we're going to attract more air service. So that's a very good thing. So with that being said, I think that's, okay, well, we talk about air traffic. We've got 3,000 acres. San Diego, California, does probably 10 times as much passenger traffic as us. That's a big airport, isn't it? Less than 1,000 acres. One runway. We've got 4 runways and 3,000 acres. So the question is, what are we going to do with that? And we're doing things with it, but we're going to get more aggressive and to build the capability of this airport. The city of Sanford with the county are doing a study of that 5-mile corridor, the Lake Mary corridor, and the projection, right, Paul? Yes, is thousands of homes and businesses and offices and warehouses, and that segues perfectly with the airport's 3,000 acres. We're a foreign trade zone. We're going to leverage that. We're going to create a commerce park that is more modern to be able to accommodate the high technology businesses, and we're going to draw those jobs and activity that are important to the Seminole County. Forget Orange County. And we're going to go after Orange County too. So Orange County, if you're listening, we're going to go after every business you have there to bring it to Seminole County. That's the way I feel about it. So 218 tenants, $2.5 billion in economic impact. You can see the property there. We won't get into that. We're running out of time. Do you see on the right the fields, the Boomba, Seminole County Boomba? We're partnering closely with them. There will be a hotel here someday. The Boomba's a vital part of that. We've got pilots that need to domicile overnight. We're going to do some land swapping to facilitate the expansion of their Boomba, and we're going to work in a partnership that's going to take this airport to the next level. So we are not going to allow COVID to detour us from our mission. It made us stutter step a little bit, but we're going to forge ahead and try to leverage that to the best of our advantage. So with that being said, I'll be happy to answer questions.
Just repeat the questions from the audience if you want to.
I shall do that.
But we can take some questions. First, we'll take from the audience, and then we'll take any that come in on Zoom. So if you have a question, go ahead and Tom, please call.
Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, how far west in the U.S. does Sanford report?
Primarily Allegiant is a medium haul because their aircraft can only go so far, and they go point to point, 72 destinations, Texas into Kansas. So we certainly want to look at how we can have better access, longer haul to the West Coast and other parts of the United States, maybe into Canada as well. And, but there's a dynamic there because, again, the market has to support it. Now, to the airlines, leisure travel's good, but the money comes from the business traveler for obvious reasons. That's where many airlines, and that's why we'd like to look at legacy carriers to see how we could have some facet of that to connecting to a hub to go around anywhere in the world. Well, I'm getting off easy. Thank you very much. Oh, wait, oh, shoot. Okay, go ahead. Will SFB be adding new airlines in addition to Allegiant Air? Yes. I wouldn't tell you if we knew. Because it's going to take some time to dig out of this COVID, and we've got a giant to the south. It's got to be the right time, right place to be able to find the right carrier that doesn't really erode the Allegiant model. Remember, Allegiant, like it or not, and we should like it because they're the best at the low-cost carrier, is the big dog on the block, and we want to make sure that we are going to continue to take care. So we want something complementary. It makes no sense to bring service in that's going to cannibalize from the carrier that's there. It doesn't do anything really for the market. It just redistributes the demand. So we are going to work on that. It's going to take time, and at some point you will be receiving a more refined survey. We've got to build a business case for the business travelers. So we'll be sending out a survey very soon, not the long ones we've done in the past, something shorter. As a business traveler, we're going to accumulate that data, and then we're going to approach other carriers that are focusing on business travel as opposed to leisure, but they want to hear it from you, and we're going to try to do that. We may call some of you and say, you're going to be part of a little party as a dog and pony show as we speed date some other carriers. We may ask some of you to do that. Yes?
So much of Sanford was built on the charters coming into Europe. Is there any sort of timeline on when those may be coming back from Iceland and England?
You tell me. Oh yeah, he was saying, what about the European market and so forth? It's locked down. Your guess is, we can't even decide on who's president. And plus we've got the world locked down on COVID. The scenario is unprecedented. And as soon as that happens, we hope to get some back. We've had carriers in the past, and we just hope that'll happen. There's just so many dynamics. A lot of the European carriers are on the brink of bankruptcy right now. They just don't have it. I think this, wait, no, go ahead. You haven't asked a question. Go ahead.
You mentioned earlier in the presentation the electrostatic process, and that has something to do with what that is.
I really don't want to talk about it. I'm not a scientist. Just I would, if you're interested in it, contact the local cleaning companies. That's just the technique that's being used to combat the virus. Inside, outside, we do it inside on the seats and everywhere you can put it in. We actually do it in our offices. I even put the backpack on I felt like a ghostbuster, but we did it. And it remains on the desk for weeks at a time, and that electrostatic charge. So contact it if you're interested for your business. Very, 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 very helpful. Yes, sir.
Is there a model somewhere in the country that you're looking to emulate, like a Burbank in LA or Chicago with the other airports that are around the main, like an OA? Is there,
No, not at all. In fact, SFB, he's wondering, is there a model we want to model ourselves? We are a model. It's one of the fastest growing. We all watched from the outside when Allegiant made the bold move and said, I'm not going to the big, Orlando is the top tourist destination in the United States. They did something completely contrarian to philosophy of the aerospace industry. We're not going to the big airport. What? You're kidding me. Everybody goes to the big airport. We're a low-cost carrier. We got this little airport to the northeast. We're going to use it. That set the model for what they do all over the country. We don't care what other airports do. We're going to do our thing, continue to do it. It's been successful, and we're just going to refine some of that strategy and take it to the new level. But yeah, you can't focus on what that other team is doing. We're just going to do our own thing, and we're not going to be shy about it either. We think there are many advantages to doing business at the small airport, and we have proof. The proof is Allegiant. Speaks for itself. Now, the legacy carriers are a little different dynamic in how they function, so we've got to contour a part of our marketing strategy for them as well, and the international carriers and so forth. So it's quite a science, but yeah. By the way, an airport is an airport in most of its function. We have the same regulations, we have the same landing systems, we have the same TSA, the same ATC, the same CBP, with different dimensions, geography, and so forth, and leadership. So good, intuitive question, but pretty much the same. Yes, ma'am.
We have another Zoom question. It says, Allegiant Air is headquartered in Las Vegas, but SFB is in Las Vegas.
It does not directly. That's considered a long haul, and remember the size of the aircraft. And that's a leisure market here going to a leisure market. So this is very slim versus other markets. Allegiant's very smart. The last thing we want to do is tell an airline what we think they should do, but we got to gather data, like I mentioned earlier, the surveys, to build a reasonable business case to get their attention. So we trust Allegiant's judgment on where they should operate, and I think as evidenced by that, we serve over 70 destinations. So they're very smart at what they do. Thank you for the question, though. Yes, sir.
Tom, can you talk a second about the non-aviation side of our business? We have a thriving, fast-growing airport, but we also have a large commerce park, and how that might be an opportunity for some of the businesses who are looking for space, who are looking for the right rent, who are looking for proximity to transportation hubs.
The ex-chairman wanted to discuss a little bit about our 3,000 acres. The airport facet is one thing, but the non-aviation aspect of business development. If there's anyone in Seminole County, we do have a foreign trade zone. There are advantages there. There's not enough time to talk about them. But if you do business that outside the United States, there's an advantage to doing something perhaps on airport in a bonded capacity there. There's ways to take that to your advantage. If you just for one reason or another would like to be near the airport or even doesn't need to be the airport, we are open to any type of development. We have everything from where they build the structural timbers for homes to the supervisor of elections to companies that build circuit boards for vehicles and so forth. So we have a wide array. We have aerospace, and we're certainly going to try to grow that. We're going to have to do some infrastructure improvements to be able to enhance that capability. But don't be afraid to give me a call, and if you want to talk about confidentially any way we can help at the airport, we will certainly be happy to accommodate that and love to build that. But our primary goal is not only to suffice for the local, but to draw business from outside the area, including Orange County. Move up to Seminole County, bring the business and the support and the taxes to this part of the Orlando area. Yes, ma'am.
So I don't have a question, I have a compliment. I've used SFB like several times, and it's such a convenient going in and out at the airport. I usually travel like 6, 7 times a year, and now that I'm out to go to Orange County, it's a distance. And normally maybe we travel a lot, but
Well, thank you. And that really is proof that if we can attract a legacy to do some element to a hub where you can connect anywhere in the world, that makes the trip a lot easier. A lot of dynamics. Gentlemen in the back.
What's the marketing plan look like?
I don't have enough time to talk about it. I think I articulated the basic strategy, but I don't think there's enough time to really. I've only been here 90 days as well. Yes, sir.
So even though with the onset of the June 15th is happening, the city is going to double down on business travelers, right? But with that being said, it is not a challenge or anything. What do you see the counties going to be opening up for business travelers? Is it going to be inbound or outbound? What would you do?
Well, the inbound is really more we can control. And in order for an airline to really function properly, you got to have originating traffic out of the market. And our strategy is to utilize the amount of business pull that we have in the area. I personally, only being here 90 days, don't understand what the demographics are for the business, the companies, and the amount of business, to then take that and calculate it into how's that going to fill that fuselage 2 to 3 times a day and hit 80% load factors, which is 84% once the COVID's over, on a day-to-day basis. I've got to understand what are the locations that businesses are going to fly to, how that complements what legacy carrier we might want to pinpoint. So there's a lot of strategy and dynamics and data that needs to be. By the end of the day, it's going to be the business traveler demand in Seminole County. And you forced me to get into a little strategy. If you look at the city of Orlando, cut it in half with the line east-west, we're going to try to convince an airline that people in Seminole County doing business don't want the hassle of driving through traffic if they're leaving in the morning. And what we're saying is, if we get a legacy carrier there, we're not saying leave Orlando. It's a silly suggestion. Put some element of your service to one of your hubs. We believe that you will actually draw from your other legacy carriers at Orlando. People will say, I can have a V8. I can drive to simpler, faster, better at Orlando Sanford and catch that 7 o'clock flight, hit the hub and be in Orange County, 3-hour difference by noon, right? Making a connection through one of the hubs and then hopefully get back by that next morning and so forth. And they're going to ask the question, well, okay, Nolan, that's rather interesting, but give us some data. How many business? What's the average business traveler? So we're going to drill down. We're going to use some consultants. We can pull that data based on zip code and try to build that case. Again, middle of the line to the north. Anything to the south of that, it's unlikely, but that's part of the strategy. Well, correct. So anticipate a survey. If we call you and we say, you're saying your budget is $12 million a year on travel, and we travel this is what our force does. We're going to take that data and try to accumulate it and then convert that into 365 days of running 2 to 3 flights a day to a hub and see if that makes sense to the airline. Business traveler, okay? And if you take the cumulative of all the businesses and then maybe slice that in half with the reality that most of them are going to continue going to MCO, but maybe half. So statistically, does that meet their revenue formula? Is it going to provide a load factor to warrant putting that asset at SFB? Okay, thank you. One last question. Somebody had one way back there. Go ahead, sir. The bad news is I see them as we're pulling from their market. In fact, due to the proximity, I think that's an argument. If we're to be able to draw a legacy carrier, which, by the way, could take a lot of time, COVID, so forth, I believe Melbourne and Daytona are going to be fair game to draw away from their markets because of the convenience. And I hate to say so, if anything, we'd like to pull their traffic away, but that's life. But we are competitors in a way, but I think we're in a better position because we've access to a larger metro area. By the end of the day, the population is much larger. As you go to the east or the southeast, that population density lessens, and proximity at some point does make a difference, but we do know that the low-cost carrier Legion draws from all of those areas. People love to drive from there to here, but the dynamic is completely different with the business traveler, and that's going to take a lot of time to develop and do this, and we're going to keep on pounding away at it. So that's the strategy in a nutshell. You need to play a vital role. So if and when we're successful, you better be on that. You need to feed the airport for business, even if it's a tad inconvenient, because hopefully that day we announce, we need everybody to say, okay, I'm going to do it for the Gipper, and we're going to use SFB Airport. And well, yeah, I know it's not as many, and you know, it's not your frequent flyer, but we've got to support Seminole. This is all about Seminole County, and I think we could possibly do that. So thank you very much for the opportunity. All right.
Another round of applause for Tom. That was great. Thank you so much. You said some of my favorite things. You said support Seminole, and you made a Ronald Reagan reference supporting the Gipper. So I'm 100%. This is great. All right. So if you are not a member yet, we're about to wrap up our program here this morning. If you are not a member yet, please see Christy. Christy, wave your hand so we can see, everybody can see you. If you haven't signed up, please go talk to Christy. And if you do today, she will put the cost of your ticket towards your membership. That's an amazing discount. That has to be at least 1,000% off. So it would not be a Seminole, Good Morning Seminole, if we didn't do our door prizes. And we have two this morning. So let's get to the very first one for a Tibby's gift card. And I'm going to mispronounce this last name. Would Paul Partica? Oh, Paul, there you go. One for the Gipper. Way to go, Paul. There you go. And a Rosso Coffee prize is going to be going out to Russ DaCosta. Russ, there you are. All right. Well, we have some exciting chamber crushes coming up between now and January, so please come out and have lunch with us. We'd really love to see you. This is our next Good Morning Seminole is going to be a real great one. We have our newly elected tax collector, J.R. Kroll, and our new elected county commissioner, Andrea Herr, going to be here, and that's going to be moderated by the newly elected Senator Jason Broder. You can applause that. And again, before we close, I would like to say thank you to our sponsors, Next Horizon, Highland, Waste Pro, J. Wayne Miller Company, Sanford, Orlando Kennel Club, the Orlando Law Group for sponsoring this great event. And this would also not be possible without, we got back there, Drew this time. Lewis isn't here today. Drew from 1AV, and our maestro behind the lens, Mr. Katz. So Katz Photography. Go ahead, Katz. Wave your hand right there. Thank you, and have a great Seminole morning.